Welcome to the podcast that guides men to demystify and develop their intuition. I'm your host, Doug Beitz. Let's dig into the science and expand your horizons. Welcome to another podcast. Today's a little bit different for you and for me. Usually I'm here interviewing mostly men about developing their intuition, how intuition's affected them through their lives. But I've just come off an interview, like usually I'm the one asking the questions and I'm just sitting there listening to whoever I'm interviewing do the majority of the talking. But about an hour ago, I had the pleasure of being on someone else's podcast, and today I did most of the talking, and it was different things came out and that sort of thing. And I thought I need to share some of these things on the podcast, because the interviewer asked me questions like, Doug, you're specializing in helping men develop their intuition. Like, how does it work? What does it do? You know, I've talked to a couple of men about their intuition and they're a bit like, well, I'm not really sure what you mean. So I just want to go through some of the questions that I got asked and the examples that I gave and things like that, and share this information with you, because I think it's really valuable. I felt really good when it was over. The words that came out, the conversations that occurred, and because it's helpful, I'm going to share it with you. So she asked me things like, how does it happen? Like what, obviously asked me why I'm doing it. And I went through all that story, and I think many of you have heard that on here before, but it was like, well, how do they start to develop their intuition? And for that question, I answered it by, I started off with, well, men have to realize that we are made up of different frequencies. And she said to me, because some of her audience, are quite educated men, and she said, if I had an engineer listening, and I said, well, an engineer wouldn't have any problem grasping this. And I said, this chair I'm sitting on feels very solid to me, but if you got a very strong microscope and looked at it, you would see it's mostly nothing. It's just energy in there. There's protons and neurons and electrons and everything spinning around very fast, and they all just are magnetically held together, and it feels solid, but it's really not. And so it's a lot of frequency going on creating this chair to give it the sense that it's solid. And our bodies are that way too. Our bodies are made up of all these protons and neurons and electrons and lots of other little things like that spinning around there at great speed. And we are this frequency. And I equated it to the frequency of a radio signal. If you're in your car, you're listening to a particular radio station, it's been sent out at a set frequency. And if you want to listen to it, you adjust your dial in your car to that frequency, and you'll hear that station. You'll hear the music, the news, the conversations that they play. If you want to tune into a different frequency, you adjust that button and it changes the number, and this is a different frequency. And now these frequencies, some of them, they run at different speeds. Some of them are higher, some of them are lower. And I'm not going to suggest that lower ones aren't good, higher frequencies are better. I'm not going to go down that road, but I will talk about higher, lower. So I said to this person, I found many years ago that before I began my intuitive journey, I wasn't happy with the things I was eating. I wasn't feeling good about it. And just through circumstances, I came across a particular book that I read, and that book made some strong suggestions on changing what I was putting in my mouth, the food and the liquid that went past my lips, down into my body. I started to realize had its own frequency. And some of those frequencies kept my body in a range where I couldn't tap into my intuition, because my intuition's coming through at a different frequency. Now, what is the intuitive force? I look at it as there's a benevolent force out there in the universe. Call it what you want, source, the creator, anything any name you want to give it, it doesn't matter. But I believe there's this unseen benevolent force that loves us and is constantly trying to get messages to us, messages that will be helpful for us, messages that will help us grow and become the person we came here to become. So to tap into the frequency to be able to hear those messages. And just imagine, and I did use this example on the podcast an hour ago, just imagine that someone that you loved dearly and that loved you dearly has now passed on. And that might be your grandmother who whenever you went and visited her, she'd give you cookies, she would hug you, pat you on the head, make you feel really good about yourself, and you always loved visiting grandma's house. Now she's passed on. Or someone else like that in your life. Now just pretend they're in the unseen realm. They're nearby to you, and it's part of their role now to get messages to you to help you to make your life better. There's this benevolent force that loves us, and we've got to tap into the messages that they're sending us, and because they're very helpful messages. And I think for years these benevolent forces are sitting there. Potentially they get frustrated with us because we're not listening. We're not in a frequency range where we can hear them. You know, like the analogy, like a dog whistle. Now, I've never used one, but apparently if you blow in a dog whistle, it's in a frequency range that humans can't hear, but dogs apparently will respond to it. Well, that's an example of a different frequency. And let's say that frequency is higher. Is it better? No, it's just different. So in this podcast, I shared that if we're eating junk food, processed food, if you look at the label on the package and it's got words in the ingredients that you've never heard of, guess what? That food in that container is probably processed. And I'm going to use the word low here. It probably has a low frequency. You put that into your body, it's going to help keep the frequency of your body in general low. It's going to keep it below the range where you can tap into grandma or whoever, this benevolent force that's out there that loves us. And I'm not saying it is your grandma. I'm just using that analogy to help you picture someone who you know loves you is out there and is there, and it's their role to get these helpful, benevolent messages through to you to make your life more enjoyable. So the first one there I shared on this other podcast was the food that we're eating and the things we're drinking. So the more natural the food is, the less processing it's had, the closer it's been grown to where you live. Because they've done scientific tests. They've taken two pieces of two vegetables, plucked off the same plant. They've kept one where it was grown. They put the other one in a truck, sent it 1,000 miles away. And 3 days later, they've got very high level scientific testing equipment, and they've tested the frequencies and the nutrition levels of both of those vegetables. And the one that's still sitting at the location where it was grown has a much higher nutrient content than the one that's been in a truck driving halfway across the country. Possibly the vibration of it, just vibrating and traveling all that way, has started to disperse some of the nutrition of the food, and it's not as beneficial to the person 1,000 miles away eating it. So the closer you can, where you can find food that's been grown closer to your home, it's had to be transported shorter distances. Go back, cast your mind back 500 years. Think about the food everybody ate and the distance that it traveled back then. Nothing traveled 1,000 miles to get consumed, right? It was all grown very, very locally, nearby, hundreds of feet away, hundreds of meters away at the most, usually, or maybe a mile at the most. So that's what we need in our bodies, locally grown, healthy food, all right? And I found that years ago, probably 14 plus years ago, I discovered a book that helped me change what I was eating. And I'm not going to say it was a diet, because to me, diets paint the picture of something you do for 2 weeks and then it gets too hard and you stop it. I've continued this through my whole life now from 14 years ago. And it was life-changing at the time. It took a couple of months, but after a couple of months, my worldview changed. I saw things differently. Everything about life changed, and for me, for the better. and my frequency changed, and it got closer to this unseen realm where I could start to hear messages coming through and communicating. So, and I'm not trying to put a big burden and say you're not eating properly, you have to change your diet. But if you're out there and you're listening and you have a desire to improve and increase your intuitive abilities, this is a necessary thing that you'll need to change. Do it in whatever fashion you can. Change one thing at a time, change everything at a time, whatever works well for you. Don't put heaps of pressure on yourself. Just do what you can do, change one or two things at a time, improve it, increase your free. Like, my son wears a t-shirt and it says 1% better every day. Let's pretend it's 0.001% better every day. Whatever it is, we're improving, we're changing things that we put into our body so that we're improving the frequency and getting it closer to that range where we can tap in. Just like when I was a teenager, FM radio came to Australia. So in my car, I had to get a new radio because I only had an AM radio in my car. And if I wanted to be cool like my mates and listen to the new FM stations, I had to go out and do something. I had to sacrifice some money and some effort to get a new radio put in my car so that I could push different buttons and tap into the new frequencies that were now available. Cell phones, if you want to be cool and have internet, immediate internet access like everybody on the planet just about does in the developed world now, you have to go out and buy a cell phone. And it's constantly 24/7 sending frequencies in and out of it all the time. And you say, oh no, when it's turned off, it's not doing that. Yes, it is. You pick up your phone and you've got 3 new messages or 2 new emails or whatever. They came in and out and did stuff when it was sitting there with the screen off. So it's got frequencies going in and out of it all the time. Your television, wireless signal coming through the air to the antenna or coming through the Wi-Fi signal, however it is, invisible frequencies. So it's there. These frequencies are there. It's a form of communication. Now, with our television, they're sending invisible signals through the air, and then they hit your TV, which is a receiver. The sending transmission thing sent it from the television station. Now your television has technology in it to receive that communication and interpret it, and then convert it into a way that you and I can interpret it. It was invisible and we had no audio on the way to our house. Now there's a video and the audio is coming through and we're tapping into it. And if we don't like that station, we change the channel and we listen to a different channel. We tap into a different frequency. This is what's happening with our intuition. Guys, if you're on a path of developing your intuition, and I know you are, that's why you're listening here, then the Neurovisor is a tool worth checking out. It uses light and sound to guide your brain into deeper states of awareness, helping you quiet the noise, tap into your inner knowing, and strengthen your intuitive muscle. And who doesn't want that? There's no pills, no fluff, just 11 minutes a day to reset your mind and reconnect with your instincts. I've bought myself one last Christmas and I've added it to my daily practice, and the shifts are real. This is not a paid ad, but if you use the link in the show notes for more information, I do receive a small percentage of the purchase price. I highly recommend you check it out. The next thing I said in that podcast I talked about this morning was meditation, and I found that very, very helpful for me. In the beginning, I was always listening to guided meditations because I had this monkey mind, or these crazy thoughts going on in my head. I was thinking about what I was going to have for lunch, when I stopped the meditation, what I had for dinner last night. Oh, I've got to go online and order this thing. And I just couldn't concentrate. I couldn't clear my mind. Guess what? When you are tapping into meditation like that, it's just observation. And I heard this once and this helped me so much, and I hope it'll help some of you. I now, if I don't have a guided meditation on, I'll just sit in a chair like I am right now. And I'll just I'll close my eyes in a quiet space. I'll put my hands down on my thighs and off I'll go with my eyes closed, and I'll start to think things like this so that my monkey mind starts to go away. I'll think, I can feel my feet on the carpet on the floor. I can feel my bottom on the cushion of the chair. I can feel my back supported by the backrest. Oh, now I can feel my left little toe touching the carpet on the floor, and it feels a bit funny. I want to move my left toe, but if I do that, it will disturb what I'm doing and I'll have to settle back in. No, I'm going to, and this is what literally goes through my mind, I'm going to do whatever I can to not move my left little toe, even though I want to. And guess what I'm doing? I'm now focused in the present moment of what's happening here right now. My monkey mind's not going out there thinking about all these other things that have happened in the past or might happen in the future, things I've got to do. I'm present right now. And the more I do that, and the more I just think about and concentrate and observe, I'm observing what's happening with my body. I'm feeling I've got a pair of shorts on and I've put my hands on my thighs, so I've got the bare skin of my hands on my thighs. And my hands are a little cold, and I'm thinking, I can feel my cold hands on my legs. And I'm very, very present. And I continue to do that. And before long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes have gone past, and I'm no longer thinking all those little individual things, but I'm now off with the fairies or wherever I am, and I'm in this meditative state. When we get in those meditative states, it starts to take our frequency into a range where intuitive messages can come through, where those benevolent unseen forces are there and they are able to communicate in whatever way. And it might be a voice in your head, not an audible voice through your ears, but it might be a voice in your head that says some words to you. It might be a feeling in your stomach. You might download a whole lot of information about some specific thing. That probably won't happen on the first day, but you might just get a sense of something, etc. And these messages are very helpful. In this podcast I did this morning, like an hour or so ago, the next thing I said to the interviewer, I said, and there's a lot of different things, and I just covered a couple, but this last thing I said was, when we get some intuitive information coming through, so let's just say we were in that guided meditation, and something came through and we think, wow, yeah, that was helpful information, kind of unusual. I wonder whether I should do that or not. Might seem a bit weird to those around me if I did that, because I don't normally do that. It's not weird for everyone to do, but it's just weird for me. You've got a choice right there and then. If you make the choice to follow through and act on what you were given, then there's a high potential that those benevolent forces are going to go, great, we've found a way to get messages to him. Let's keep using that conduit, that way to get messages. And he's acted on it. Great. Boom, in comes the reward. Let's show him quickly the benefit of acting on the information we give them. You also have the same choice to not act on it. Oh, that's just silly. That's just me. I just thought of that. That would be really silly. I'll be embarrassed if I do that because it probably won't work. Now the benevolent forces are like got their arms folded, frustrated. Oh, they're not angry. They're just frustrated. They're like, oh, geez, we thought we got the message through. He heard it. We know he heard it. He acknowledged he heard it. Refusing to act on it. Okay, that's not a good way for us to get messages. Let's keep working, trying to get messages through another way. And because you didn't act on it, there's no benefit from it. They were telling you that message because they knew if you acted on it, there'd be an immediate or delayed benefit in whatever form or way or to whatever level. So they're frustrated, not with you, they're frustrated that you didn't get the benefit of what the message was. They're like, oh, if he would just act on this, and he's listening, we got it through, he sensed it, we know he can hear us, but he's not acting on it, and now he's not going to get the benefit from it. So they're there doing that sort of thing because they love us. So the last message there is you need to act on these things. Act use it or lose it. The more you act on it, the more the strengthen. Like you get a benevolent message like that, some gut feeling, some voice in your head. And I get voices in my head occasionally. I don't get them daily, but I get them sometimes. And if you get one of those and you act on it, and then you see a benefit from it, like immediate or a bit delayed, you're thinking, wow, I'm going to do that again. And then your life gets a lot better. Because what I want you men to do out there in this world is make at least one better decision every day, because some intuition came through to help you make that better decision. And if you don't sense the intuition, just make a better decision anyway. Give yourself a couple of months. You are going to be high as a kite. You are going to feel so good about yourself because you're making better decisions. Your internal confidence in yourself will just be like greatly improved. Those around you are going to be a lot happier to have you around. Your boss might promote you because you're an enjoyable person to be around. They can trust you with being involved in more things in their business. They can trust you with higher level clients, etc., etc. Your spouse, your partner, your children are going to enjoy being around you more. Your siblings, your parents will like you around because you're happier with yourself. Why are you happier with yourself? Because you're making better decisions. And you feel good about yourself because these decisions that you're making bring positive, better results that are more enjoyable for you and those around you. It's not rocket science, it's simple. I'm trying to get this message out so that you guys can enjoy your life. I've experienced these things. My life I'm so content and happy with my life. It's awesome. I love it. We can strive for happiness. We can't always be happy. And it's try and find a job that makes you happy. Yeah, okay, I get that. But there are contrasts in life. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're not. The longer we're unhappy for, the more enjoyable it is when we are happy. We recognize that sort of thing. But we're able then to be content with who we are, what we've achieved. And we can sit and look back at our lives and go, yeah, my life's really on the up and up. It's improved a lot. It's improved out of sight since I've started to trust myself more, okay? And not just think, oh, that's just me. Yeah, it is just you. It's just you receiving a message from a benevolent force, and it is just you. Act on it. It will be helpful. All right. That's all for this week. Have a great week. Think about the things I've said. Think about the things you're putting in your mouth, that food. Try and get some fresh, healthy food into your body, not processed sort of stuff that's old and its frequency's low. Get some higher frequency food into your body. Meditate, get some guided meditations going, or sit there and take the suggestion that I gave you. And I didn't make that up. I've followed that from other people and it works for me. And then act on those intuitive impressions that you get. All right. Thank you for listening. Enjoy yourself. Have an awesome week. Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, we're at the end of another thought-provoking episode. Remember to subscribe so you'll be alerted to new episodes. I want to say thank you to the men who are joining me on this journey of intuitive development. I truly hope our time together has expanded your reality and reinforced trust in your ever-reliable gut feeling. Embrace your intuition. It will not lead you astray. Until next time, stay tuned, stay curious, and trust your gut.